All right, here we are at the Blue Ridge Pepper Homestead on a rainy afternoon and just a little bit of a drizzle going on. And this is our mint beds. So we've got spearmint and peppermint and sweet mint and apple mint. And my wife had just started giving this one a haircut, and that'll go in and go into the dehydrator. And once the leaves are dehydrated, we'll put them in jars, and that will be for herbal teas. So over here on this side of the yard, we've got some more raised beds. And this first one here has a few carrots and a few beets in it. We never do good with beets and carrots. We've thrown a few in there, hoping we'll get something. And then that monster sunflower is a volunteer from last year. So we left that in there because we do like to roast a few sunflower kernels. Another big volunteer over here in the box with some peppers. And in this box we've got, believe it or not, that is just 4 cantaloupe plants that are beginning to blossom. And here we have several types of pepper in this raised box. And then here we have a watermelon bed that's got 4 different plants in it, same variety. And as you can see, we are beginning to get, if I pull back here, you can see a couple little watermelons on the vine. So beginning to get a few watermelons. This is our asparagus bed. We did cut a few spears off of that early in the spring and then let it go to fern. Let that build up that rootstock again, and hopefully next year we'll really begin to be able to get some cutting off of it. This is our 3rd season for this bed. It takes about that long for asparagus to get really well established. And then this little bed just has a variety of different little herbs in it, some purple coneflowers, some lavender, some stevia that we like to use for sweetening our herbal teas. So just a few little things like that in this bed. Alright, so this is the main garden. So we've got a couple of rows of tomatoes down through here, and we put them in big cages. We could probably do a better job of tying them up, putting a work over the bridge over the top of them with string hanging down and tie them up, similar to what I've seen MHP Gardener do. And we got some peppers down through here and some squash. We've been picking lots of squash already. We've had squash for dinner about every night this week. And then we've got, I can't remember if this is the Silver Queen or the Peaches and Cream corn in these rows here. And then we get into several varieties of beans. We've got pinto beans, we've got red beans, we've got kidney beans. We've got everything in this main garden except green beans. We did lots of green beans last year. We've got black-eyed peas here in this row right before you get to the other patch of corn. So we've got 2 different varieties of corn on either end of the garden. And I have put a little bit of nitrogen on those, and then just recently came back with some 10-10-10, side dressed them with that. And then here at the end of the garden we have 2 rows of sweet potatoes. Now up where you saw the squash, there were some peppers that were getting overrun by the squash, and last night we decided to try to transplant them, and I hope I haven't killed them. They don't look too good right now. They looked better early this morning when I came out and watered them. I thought they were going to look fine, but they're beginning to look a little bit wilted today here in the heat of the day. So these did get transplanted, dug up and transplanted into this new raised bed that I built yesterday, and along with some more tomatoes that we put in for a little bit later season crop. So and then we do have a screen of bamboo that we planted along this section of the fence, and more volunteer sunflowers. So we didn't plant any sunflowers this year. Every sunflower you see in the yard came up as volunteer from last year, where the birds had dropped some seeds before we got to the heads and harvested them. Now here in the front we have quite a collection of tomato plants, and I don't remember what all the different varieties are here. My wife could probably tell you. She actually has a drawing of all of our gardens where she has recorded what is planted so that she knows what is what when we go to start harvesting. But you can see that these plants are coming along pretty nicely. We did have to come through and prune some blight off of the bottom of these, and then we mulched them. So you can see we do have tomatoes coming on them. So getting some decent size, nothing that's getting ripe yet on this tomato bed here in the front, which is close over here to where the mint was. I also wanted to show you here our rain catchment system, or one of about 3 rain catchment systems that I have around the house. So this one has 10 barrels, 55-gallon barrels. Comes off the downspout here of the little house next door. Those barrels, the bottom barrels are full, the top ones are about half full right now. We've continued to get lots of rain here in Northern Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley, so we haven't had to do a lot of watering, but when we get 2 or 3 hot days in a row, we do water, particularly the raised beds, using the water that we've been able to catch in these rain catchment systems. So this is our back garden, back behind the pool deck, and this one's devoted entirely to corn in this plot. I can't remember exactly which variety of corn we planted in here. It is a variety of sweet corn. I can't remember just which one. And we do have 2 beds back here, raised beds of sweet potatoes, and last year we harvested just a bunch out of these. And a couple of volunteer tomatoes that got in there from some compost that I put in there had not gotten hot enough. So lesson learned, make sure your compost gets hot enough to kill the seeds. Over here we've got some grape tomatoes and cherry tomatoes along this little patch. And then when you come up the side of the house here, we've got potatoes. So in this little goat path down by the deck here, we've got potatoes planted in here all the way down. I think there's some Kennebecks, maybe some russets in here. Beginning to look a little yellow there, so it may be getting close to time to think about digging some of these potatoes. Last year we planted potatoes here and then put a second crop in of green beans after we harvested the potatoes. So that's going on. Got some more squash up here. This is either butternut or spaghetti squash. I cannot remember which. And whichever one that was, this is the other one. Along with some beans we've got planted up here. And some onions that look like I need to go ahead and pull them. They're beginning to flop over. I never get really good big onions. That's probably about the biggest onion that we've had out of our garden. Not really what you'd call great big onions. Again, there's another. You can see that's about as big as we ever get here in the Shenandoah Valley. I don't know what I do wrong, but I don't have good luck with my onions. There's another little onion patch over here that's doing a little bit better. You can see that those maybe are a little bit bigger than the ones on the other side. So that's my onions, and hopefully that'll be enough for us to can what we call our stew starter or soup starter. We take those onions, we take those potatoes. Since we never do good with carrots, we buy some carrots, we buy some celery, we can all that together and make a nice soup starter or a pot roast starter that my wife can put into a crock pot with a roast and have dinner. And then that's a grape arbor that I think this year is going to get some serious pruning back, and then I may even decide to relocate that. We decided that wasn't the best place. We thought we'd do kind of an archway through the gate coming into the backyard here, and well, you know, we can get through there, but you got to duck down. So this is the little grape arbor, and if I get up underneath it, I should be able to find some grapes in here. There's some of the grapes, and up there's another bunch of grapes, and another bunch of grapes, and another bunch of grapes, a couple of more bunches of grapes. So we're gonna have a few grapes this year. There's white grapes that are seed
that do have seeds, and then there's a red seedless is the other variety in here. So there's 4 vines on these 2 little trellises, and they're just getting a little bit out of hand, and I'm gonna have to do something different with them next year just to try to relocate them and put them someplace where I can let them grow a little bit bigger and space them out a little bit better. So that's pretty much how we have filled our yard up with produce. And I got to get in here and weed around my okra. It's beginning to come up pretty good. Got a few okra plants in here, but I do have to weed around. Okay, we do also have several fruit trees in our yard. So this is one of our peach trees. Last year we had a late frost, did not get any fruit at all off of these trees. It got all the blossoms in that late frost, but this year I believe we're going to get a pretty good peach harvest off of this tree. So this is one of 2 peach trees in the yard. Do need 2 so that they can cross-pollinate. Then we got a nectarine tree over here, and you don't need 2 nectarines, at least not of this variety is the way we understood it. So we are getting some pretty good nectarines coming on this tree. So we should get a pretty good little nectarine harvest as well this year off of these. And then this is the second peach tree, and I'm going to back up away from it, let you get a better view of how big it is. And it is loaded down. I probably should have removed more of the peaches from it. I just let natural fall take place, and you can see several have dropped off down there in the dirt. And I'm hoping that I get a decent peach. This will be the first year we've gotten a peach harvest, so we're hoping it's a pretty good little harvest. We'll see what we get. Got a few more tomatoes here planted underneath it. These are the only tomatoes that are beginning to get ripe a little bit, so beginning to be able to start picking some tomatoes. And then that bramble patch there is raspberries. I planted those 2 years ago, and it has just taken over that little spot in there. Beginning to get some raspberries on it. Nothing really ripe yet, but we will get probably several pints of raspberries off of there. And then I have started picking a few cucumbers off of my cucumber vines that are here underneath the peach tree. So I've still got a lot of quarts of pickles from last year. I don't really need a lot of cukes this year because we pretty much just grow for ourselves and for some of our family members to have some fresh vegetables. And my boys have been picking the blueberries. Got to keep netting over it to keep the birds out. So one little blueberry patch there. I think they picked actually about 3 pints of blueberries off of 2 little bushes that I've got here. And again, I'm behind on my weed, and I got to get in here and weed. All right, so we just got done pulling our onions and taters, and it could have been a better crop, but we got better onions this year than we've ever gotten before. I've got some that are almost baseball size. A lot of them that are in between golf ball and baseball size. Got lots of Kennebecks, about 2 bushels of Kennebecks, about a half a bushel of red potatoes, and we had planted some russets from a bag that was going bad in the kitchen, and we got, I don't know, about maybe 10 pounds of russets, small russets. Those plants didn't do well. They died off pretty quick. So, but we went ahead and pulled them now. We probably could let them grow and get a little bit bigger, get a little bit better yield. But we wanted to put this area into green beans. We don't have any green beans planted yet. We've got lots of pintos, lots of kidney beans, black-eyed peas, other stuff planted. And so we're going to put a second crop in here of green beans. We've got enough time. It's July 2nd today, so we've got enough time to plant green beans and be able to get a crop out of them before frost here in Northern Virginia. So that's our goal, is to get some green beans along with everything else that we've shown you in the garden today. So that's it from the Blue Ridge Prepper, signing off.